Good evening. It is a very special edition. It is a combo platter, so to speak. You see the SEC After Dark logos, but we also are gonna cram in a little Beast of the East as well. We're gonna focus on a couple of Beast of the East type storylines. Of course, Georgia taking on Clemson this weekend. Joe Milton being named the starting quarterback at the University of Tennessee, and all the Week 1 action as well. Joining me on this extravaganza is Steve Willis and Jeb Beecham. Guys, what's going on?
Not a whole bunch, Corey. How you doing?
Man, I'm great, man. Just having my summer ale, celebrating the first day of meteorological fall, and I didn't know that was a thing, but I was watching the news this morning, and then apparently your colleagues at your former workplace, WSMV, it is a thing. So there you go.
Okay, nice. I'm hunting werewolves with my silver bullet, and
yes,
and you have a little bit of throwback Thursday on a Wednesday, and so it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that.
I don't know if I'm doing the same thing. Coors Light, just a good staple, old favorite.
Yep,
absolutely, man. Well, in addition to Willis Digital Media, you can also find this show on the Believe Podcast Network. This will be under Beast of the East. It will be named the title of this episode will be named Combo Platter. So look forward to that. But I'm excited, man. We are presented by, or the Beast of the East portion of this is presented by BetOnline.ag. It's that time of year again, and all eyes are now turning to football as teams are back on the gridiron to start the football season. NFL starts next week. College obviously started tonight. As always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college action this season. I lied. College started last week. Get all the updated odds, props, contests, including online's biggest $500,000 NFL mega contest and the world's largest $200,000 NFL Survivor contest. That's open now at BetOnline. So head to the website or use your mobile device, sign up today, and receive your 100% welcome bonus. Take advantage of their opening day super promo, which equals make a bet on Thursday, September 9th, season opener between the Super Bowl champ Buccaneers and the Dallas Cowboys. And if you lose, your wager will be refunded. Up to $25 for new customers only when signing up and using the promo code NFL100. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. And we have a new sponsor joining us. We will talk about them right before our pick segment because you may want to head over there and to playactionpools.com. We'll talk about them here in a little while when we go to our pick segment. So stay tuned for that. But we got a great show. The chat is up and running. Jake Thomas, the party has begun. We're rocking and rolling. Bishop Sycamore is they're actually 17-point underdogs this weekend against Wake Forest. So they signed Cam Newton. They were 35-point underdogs, then they signed Cam Newton today, and now they're 17-point underdogs. They need a few more pieces. Jake Fromm would be a great backup quarterback for them.
Are they the real life version of the Mean Machine? Honestly.
I mean, the head coach has an arrest warrant, so I guess so.
Yeah, 23-year-old kids getting blown out by high school kids. Yeah, no big deal.
No big deal. Like blown out. Like I mean, it's like a bloodbath, man. So.
Legit blown out.
Yeah. So, but Steve, you never cease to amaze me with this set, man. I'm looking at the chat. This is a very, very clean look.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I enjoy doing this. I've always been kind of a graphics nerd and enjoy doing that and trying to find the right look. And I'm going to tinker back and forth. Like if you notice, there is a new SEC After Dark logo on the bottom of the screen, and different things like that. And just add what does it look like, and I just enjoy doing that.
Absolutely. Well. College football, SEC they kick off actually tomorrow. Jeb, your Vols kick off. But Steve, I wanted to take this chance to allow yourself and allow myself to pat ourselves on the back. Jeb, I don't know if you were. We did this on Beast of the East when you pinch hit, but when Steve pinch hit, so I don't know if you had a chance to voice this. But did we call Illinois, or did we call Illinois?
We called Illinois. We mentioned all the problems that was going on at Nebraska, how much they were going to struggle going on the road, and Illinois was a fairly decent team. They were not totally incompetent. And Brett Bielema, with the offensive line, with what they want to do, it was just a perfect marriage. And Nebraska, let's be honest about that game, they were so disheveled, they really beat themselves. I mean, the special teams gave up 4 points, and that dumbass call in the first half that led to the scoop and score was the other. 10 points were just given away in that game, and that was larger than the margin of victory.
Yeah, I know Steve had that game called. He definitely liked Illinois going into it. I thought they were going to cover. I did not see that coming with them just beating Nebraska the way they did.
I went straight out, man. They're going to outright win. I mean,
Bielema, I remember that.
Bielema is superior to Scott Frost, man. Bielema, just for whatever reason, he's at home in the Big Ten. So I was excited to see that because, Illinois, they need to be good. Like, the Big Ten needs some more good teams. So I'm excited for that. And I guess if you're one of those that likes to watch the world burn, just look at Nebraska football. It's getting there. So.
Mm.
It's too close to home.
Yeah, and I will say this about Scott Frost. Any other program besides Nebraska, he would be successful. The fact that he's at Nebraska, he wants it so much that he's working so hard at strangling the program at Nebraska. And that is why they're in deep trouble. It's so much the shades of Ed Orgeron at Ole Miss. So much of that is happening at Nebraska right now. And I don't think what's happening at Nebraska is a reflection of him as a head coach.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an unfair situation. You put one of the most beloved alumni players in that spot. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on him, and pressure sometimes creates diamonds and sometimes crushes people. And right now, it's just crushing Scott Frost. And you hate it for him, but he'll land on his feet. He'll be fine. He'll get another G5 head coaching job, and he'll be just fine. He'll be good. He'll be successful. And maybe that's his peak. Maybe that's where he belongs. Maybe that's his, to use a term, Steve, that you're familiar with, maybe that's his niche.
Yeah, and not to make this Big Ten after dark, but Scott Frost, his offense, that offense is not what was run at Central Florida. That is not what got him the Nebraska job. That was some kind of bastardized version of the Tom Osborne offense at Nebraska.
Yeah,
and
he felt like he needed to do that. Like,
that's
why nobody was successful at Georgia Southern after Paul Johnson left for a long time, because anybody that tried to run anything but triple option, they were run out of town.
Yeah, he just needs to concentrate on. If he didn't have the emotional attachment wherever he was, it would be fine. He's a good coach. He really is. But people are going to jump on him and everything that's going on without an understanding of what's happening, without context, and going to ridicule this guy. And in 5 years, he's going to, make an Access Bowl at TCU or something like that.
Yeah, be an interesting fit at TCU. But anyway, let's go back into the SEC. Let's talk the most recent game, Tennessee Bowling Green. Steve, you and I, we previewed Bowling Green. That was kind of depressing. We didn't think Tennessee was 34 points better than anybody until we started looking at Bowling Green, and then maybe we're like, okay, maybe they are 34 points better than somebody. So Joe Milton, the starting quarterback, I don't really feel like this was much of a competition because either A, Joe Milton just came in and just ripped it away from everybody, or B, everybody was so bad that they just kind of gave it to the most athletic guy, or C, I don't know what option C was, but Joe Milton just dominated this competition. That's all you ever heard about. Like, Harrison Bailey was a ghost in this whole thing. You didn't really hear much about Hendon Hooker. I mean, every headline was Joe Milton this, Joe Milton that, Joe Milton this, Joe Milton that. So, Jeb, are you excited about Joe Milton?
I am. I think he's the guy that Coach Heupel wanted when he went out looking. He went looking for Joe Milton, found him, enticed him to come. I think he wanted him to win. I'm surprised a little bit. I really, like a lot of fans, liked Harrison Bailey coming in and was hoping he would take control of this team now that we finally got Garantano out of the way and gone, which took forever. But he didn't, and you're right. He just honestly never seemed to take control this offseason at all. Even before Joe Milton got there, he didn't have control of this team, and then once the coach got Joe Milton to transfer here, it sounded like he just took over completely. But I'm excited for it. I can't wait to see him play. And I agree, Bowling Green's not a very strong team, so it's going to be more like a kind of a preseason warm up. Although in college football, those preseason warm ups can bite you pretty hard if you're not careful.
Yeah, I mean, as bad as they are, Tennessee still better buckle it up, man, because you don't want another Georgia State game.
Yeah, and not only like that, 45-10 does not cover for Tennessee in this game.
No.
That's ridiculous. So if you think Bowling Green can score 14 points, you're going to require basically a 50 burger to cover that line.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have that I don't know if they have that bullet in their gun. Now, Joe Milton, I'm impressed with. One thing's for sure, Lane Kiffin should work to be in the front of the line whenever Harrison Bailey enters the portal. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That should be an absolute no-brainer. But I'm looking forward to that game. I don't think Tennessee is going to cover that 35-point line necessarily. Let me look at my picks ahead.
Well, I'm not sure Tennessee was on there with the picks, but
that's right. We didn't put them on there. I don't think. Yeah, since the game's tomorrow and we got all these guys going, I left the Thursday night game on. But I just don't know. Like I said, if Bowling Green can score 14 points to cover, you need 50. I just don't know if that bullet's in the gun.
Well, Steve, I don't know that Bowling Green can score 3 points.
Yeah. That is an absolute, because Tennessee can cover if it's a 42-3 game. Something like that. The low scoring, the impetus is going to be on the Vol defense and the Bowling Green offense as far as gamblers go in this game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think the Vol defense is going to be that bad until they get an injury or two, and then it's just going to devastate some positions there that are just not deep enough to handle it. But in the first game, they probably could. I think they're kind of banking with that spread on the this offense coming in and being kind of high-powered, which is what he normally runs, but. I don't know how ready they're going to be, but we'll see. I'm definitely excited to find out. It is about time. I cannot wait for tomorrow.
I bet you can't. I mean, I'm excited too. I'm just excited to see some SEC football, even if it's that blinding orange. I will let it go. I will let it go. But I'm excited for it. There's actually a game on right now. UAB, the CUSA champions, are actually on TV at this moment. So.
It was 7-0 when we started. What's the score now?
It was 10-0 at half right before I came up here.
Tomorrow's game will be more exciting.
I guarantee there's going to be more points scored. Not necessarily by Bowling Green, but you're right, Jake. This could be a 45-0 for Tennessee type game. This could be that, and the game would cover under that scenario.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a good indication of where
the
Tennessee
update
is on the
UAB
season.
Is up.
Okay. I just do not like watching UAB. I know this, I don't want to make this Conference USA after dark, but they are like watching paint dry. They're an anomaly. They win games, but it's like the old 1-0 to the Arsenal of the English Premier League back in the 90s whenever, before Arsene Wenger. The joke was 1-0 to the Arsenal, and it just feels like that. It's just not very exciting. It's dull football. But like I said, they win. He's winning. So do you take
They're up
boring wins?
17-0 now.
Yeah. Do you take boring wins or do you want excitement? I don't know.
I want wins, dude. I want conference titles. I don't care how boring it is. I don't care if I win every game 3-2. I get a conference title. I get a conference title.
Yeah, but you want to put butts in that new stadium. You need to get people in. But
you win conference championships, you're going to put some butts in the seats. I promise you that.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up on smash mouth football, so I like the hard running and the good defenses. But honestly, that is more of the old style. You're seeing a lot more innovative offenses coming in, and I got to admit, Ole Miss is a lot of fun. As much as I hate to say anything nice about Lane Kiffin, it is a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I grew up in the it wasn't quite the air raid. It was kind of like a multitude of different things, different concepts. But I grew up in a pass heavy offense.
Okay. I grew up and played high school ball in the wing tee. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
God.
wing tee, belly.
God.
It was terrible.
Uh,
Waggles. It's been so long ago because you remember, I played football with Newt Rockney, and you know how it goes.
yeah, you invented the wing tee, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah. We took it from the single wing, the Notre Dame box. Saw all our progression.
Yeah, there you go. The Steve Willis, the Willis tee. There you go.
Yeah, the fun thing, we're going to make this Mississippi high school after dark now. The one fun thing that I've seen in Mississippi high school football is now they're embracing the forward pass. They're actually moving into the modern era of football. You see teams like MRA throwing the ball all over the field, like air raid type systems. It's actually very good to see because literally in high school, we played a team that ran the Notre Dame box.
Yeah, I mean Cam Akers played essentially a single wing offense. It's like a spread single wing. He just caught it and ran basically and scored 40 points a game and by himself.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean I get it. It's very much just like put your best athlete. Hope he can throw a simple pass, but for the most part, he's just going to out-athlete everybody. That was the style of Mississippi for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But now they have access to Lane Kiffin and Mike Leach. I mean, obviously that's going to trickle down.
Yeah, and at Southern Mississippi, Will Hall, they do some advanced type stuff as well. So let's not leave out the mustard buzzards and all the good things that they're going to do with him at the helm. He's a good hire.
There you go. So, I like if we're going to add Tennessee to the picks, my unofficial selection here is I think Tennessee's going to cover. Bowling Green is awful. They're horrendous. Tennessee is as bad as they are. They're 34 points better than Bowling Green. That's about the only program I can say that for. But Tennessee, I don't know what they're going to have. I mean, Joe Milton's a weapon now, so you got that going for you.
Yeah. And I like Jabari Small at running back as well. I would take in this game Tennessee as long as Bowling Green doesn't score above 7 points. If they get to 10 or higher, it's all bets are off whenever it comes to this.
And Jake, I know it's sad that I sound like Auburn. Forgive me. He just turned us off. Okay, so let's look at some of the other Week 1 slate. We got. Let's talk about. Do we want to talk about game of the week, or do we want to briefly? Let's go through some of these.
Let's go through some of these and do game of the week and then picks.
Okay. All right. Well, some of these we're going to start. Some of these with Florida hosting FAU. That's an interesting matchup there. Willie Taggart brings his crew up to Gainesville, I should say. We'll get our first look at Emory Jones as the unquestioned starter for the Gators. We'll get our first look at what Dan Mullen can do to replace all of that firepower. They're 23.5-point favorites. What do you guys think? What do you guys want to see out of Florida? Obviously, you want to see them cover, right? To see if they're somewhat legit. But I want to see what Emory Jones, how he can do in the passing game. Can he be a threat, a legitimate threat throwing the ball? Or is he just kind of one of those guys that's going to run it and hit a deep shot every once in a while?
Go ahead, Jeff.
No, I agree. I think replacing the Kyles is the big thing. So it'd be interesting to see how they're going to do that. Who's going to be the big pass catcher now that Kyle Pitts has moved on as well? If Emory Jones is going to be able to take control of that offense. Obviously, I don't think FSU is going to put up that much of a fight, but we'll see. We'll see how they do.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they replace Kadarius Toney. Everybody's looking at Emory Jones and the Kyles at Florida, but I'm interested in Kadarius Toney because he forced linebackers to think in ways that helped Kyle Pitts get open, and Kyle Pitts helped Kadarius Toney get open. Now, without both of those guys, what do you do in the middle of the field? Is it completely on the outside?
Yeah, I think you got to find somebody that can attack the middle of the field. I mean, you've got a couple of guys that could emerge. We just don't know who that's going to be. I mean, just like Georgia's wide receivers, you just there's a bunch of guys that potentially could do it, and they got that transfer from Penn State. But I just think when you look at it, it's just got to be kind of who gets comfortable with Emory Jones and how does the flow of the game go. Are they going to get their running backs more involved this year than they have than Dan Mullen has in the past? That's going to be something that he's going to have to really think about and consider too.
Other than a wheel route.
Other than a wheel route against Georgia, which I think they just hit another one on Georgia, by the way.
Yeah, Adrian Schewers wants to know how accurate do you think the Ole Miss depth chart will be, or do you think we should take them with a grain of salt? The answer is yes and yes. Basically, there are things you can glean from that depth chart and see how it's going to be moving forward, but there's not so many oars on there, so it seems pretty straightforward, but don't take it completely at face value. Glean for things like Dontario Drummond all of a sudden popping up at slot. That was something worth seeing. So that's something you can look at there.
Exactly. Yeah. Always take depth charts with a grain of salt. That's just coaching gamesmanship right there. But I'm also looking to see how this Florida defense responds. I know Grantham's seat is red hot. Obviously I think FAU is just not very good, so they probably do cover easily. But, it's going to be kind of, is this defense going to come out on fire? Are they going to be on the same page? Are they going to have trouble lining up? Are they going to give up some big plays that they shouldn't against N'Kosi Perry and FAU? Are they going to get in a tight game early? Is there going to be some miscommunications there? Is there going to be a shouting match between Dan Mullen and Todd Grantham? You could probably go to Bet Online and bet on that. So,
no, that's a good point. Their defense was not as good last year as I thought it was going to be. So.
Oh shit, not as good. I mean, it was horrendous.
Yeah. One thing to look at in this game is if Florida Atlanta can attack over the top. That has historically been a weakness for Todd Grantham defense. I don't know if there's a wide receiver that can take advantage of that, but they are just 2 years removed from Lane Kiffin recruiting. There's probably some athletes out there out wide. N'Kosi Perry, if he hits them, there's a chance where I'm not necessarily saying that Florida's not going to cover, but it could get nervy.
It can, because Florida's a havoc-based defense, right? And when you take a lot of chances, you're going to get burned occasionally. And can this team handle that? I don't know. I don't know the mentality of this team. Obviously, they think they're pretty good, but I don't know. Like when this team faces a little adversity, this team really hasn't. This 2021 team hasn't really been in the fire like that. Last year's Florida team responded well to adversity. They had Kyle Trask, they had Kyle Pitts, they had Kadarius Toney. Those guys could put the team on their back and say, "Let's go." They don't have that. Emory Jones, I don't think is that guy. He might be, but I don't think he is at this moment. So, can he do that? Can they overcome some adversity and cover this spread and blow out FAU like they should? Or is this going to be a tight, nervy game for a while until depth takes over and they pull away? Like that's what I'm looking for. If it's a nervy game, it's going to be a nervy season. If it's a blowout, Florida might be okay and finish that. And it might come down to the cocktail party like it does every year right now. So
yeah, it's one of those scary opening games for a team where, at the halftime it could be 14-14, and after the second half you've won 35-14.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those pull away and survive and advance at that point. But let's go to Columbia, Missouri, Central Michigan. The Shark Humper. He swims into town. He
got appendicitis today and had to have surgery. He might not be there.
So he's not swimming.
Yeah, he's not swimming into town. So he's probably going to watch it from, was it Kalamazoo, whatever hospital is in Kalamazoo.
Yeah, Kalamazoo Regional Hospital probably. Mm-hmm. So Central Michigan will indeed still play Missouri. That spread is only 14 points in Missouri's favor. Central Michigan's a pretty pesky. They were middle of the pack MAC team, but if you know anything about the MAC conference, that doesn't matter year to year, because a middle of the road team can be the best team in the conference the next year, and then go from being the best to the worst, and then just kind of go all over the place. So, I'm interested to kind of see how. I mean, if we're going to go MAC after dark, MACtion after dark, Central Michigan, I'm kind of interested to see kind of how they come out. Do they come out fired up? playing hard for McElwain? You know, do they get after Connor Basilick? They can score a little bit. They can put some pressure on you offensively, and Missouri's defense is not exactly a strong suit. But it's one of those things that it's like not an overbearing weakness either. It's just one of those things that they just need to improve in a few areas, especially getting after the passer and third downs. But if Missouri can fix that and get off the field, they can score and score and score and put big numbers up on you. So part of me feels like this spread is way too low in Missouri's favor, but part of me also realizes that this game could be a high-scoring shootout, and Central Michigan could put some points up on the board.
I think they're planning on like a 42-28. That was probably the genesis of the line. I'm expecting Missouri to do some things. Basilak, to me, as a freshman, he's basically a freshman Matt Corral. Next year, he's going to be absolute hell in that offense. So you better hope Texas and Oklahoma comes in, or else the East is just going to be fairly unbearable.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, they've got some work to do there. I think they're in an interesting position, setting up for that big Kentucky game next week. So I'm kind of digging what Missouri's putting out there, but we'll see. We'll see kind of if this defense is improved as the media says they are. You know, when you read about them, they're improved, but this is the time of year where you read about everybody, and everybody's going to win the national championship. Even at Akron, they're going to win the national championship. But we all know once that ball's kicked off, all bets are off, and we'll kind of see how they handle themselves on defense. Jeb?
I don't know that much about Central Michigan, but I'm definitely interested to see what Missouri looks like this year. I know, being Georgia and Ole Miss fans, you're probably worried about a little higher level, the higher tier teams. But of course, as a Tennessee fan, I'm looking at Missouri and Kentucky and South Carolina as the teams that we're really, we need to beat if we're going to take that next step and start moving up. So, and Missouri is definitely one of them. A lot of people have picked to finish ahead of Tennessee. So, I can't wait to see if they're really taking this next step and as good as people think they're going to be. Relatively not on Georgia, Florida level, but better than Tennessee, South Carolina, this level of play. So no, I can't wait to see the game. I don't know much about Central Michigan and how good they are, so I can't tell you for sure what the game's going to look like.
Yeah, I just felt like it was an interesting matchup there because Central Michigan's kind of one of those pesky MAC teams. But let's head over to the West, guys. Steve, a matchup that I honestly think this spread is too low. I don't have a whole lot of faith in Louisville in looking at what they have coming back. I do not think they'll cover. So, Jake, I don't know where you're going with that. But Ole Miss is a team that, Steve, obviously I'm gonna cede the floor to you here in just a second. But to me, when you break down this offense, I cannot wait for year 2 of this Lane Kiffin offense because you have a lot of pieces coming back. Even if they're not necessarily starters, they're guys that have played and got significant playing time in this offense. The timing is going to be even better. It's going to be even sharper. I think Matt Corral is going to take a huge leap if that's even possible, but I think he will. I think you're going to see Ole Miss come out and really make a statement in this game. I am buying a lot of stock in Ole Miss, at least for this week.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this game. Matt Corral has looked great. Jerry and Ely, he got a question in the press conference Monday about why he's faster this year, believe it or not. He looks faster, and Jerry and Ely's like, y'all keep asking me that. I maybe I'm more efficient in what I'm doing. But anytime you're dealing with a Lane Kiffin offense, he attacks areas. He doesn't necessarily attack people. If you are a zone defense team, he has places he wants to go. If you're a man defense team, there's a place you want to go, although man defense against Lane Kiffin's practically suicide at this point. But, that's the way they have it set up. Now, Louisville, they have Brian Brown, an former Ole Miss defensive back. Pick sixth against Tennessee in 2004. Play as the defensive coordinator for Louisville. So he's going to be jazzed up about this game. Gunnar Brewer is on that staff. Billy Brewer's son. And Jack Bignell, the former offensive line coach under Matt Luke. There's a lot of Ole Miss ties on this Louisville roster that could make for an interesting game. I think the defense for Ole Miss will be the story of this game. I really am expecting them to be a unit that holds Louisville to 21 or less points.
I'm excited about Otis, my man Reese.
That was my question about this spread. I think we can all agree that Ole Miss's offense should be pretty good. So are they expecting Louisville's offense to be good, or is this just the national media thinking Ole Miss's defense won't be that good?
National media is thinking Ole Miss's defense is not going to be that good. Hey, Adrian Schewers asked Snoop on the depth chart. He's number 4. What will his touches look like, if any? He's got a role on this team. He is going to be the fourth quarter guy. He's going to be the short yardage guy. He's going to come in that position. He's too good of a player not to. So I wouldn't worry too much about the depth chart. This is a little bit of gamesmanship going into Louisville. All accounts are that in fall camp he looked pretty good.
Absolutely. And Jake, Louisville does need somebody to support them. It's just not going to be me. So I'll let you take the reins on that one. So. But what I'm most excited about, I mean, obviously all the Ole Miss ties on the Louisville staff, that's only going to go as far as pregame and postgame, the handshakes and the talks. How's your family, and is this place still in Oxford, and is the Grove still as awesome as ever, and but beyond that, just looking at Louisville, that they just don't really have much. They're going to struggle, and it's not because Satterfield's a bad coach. I just think he's in a situation where they're just decimated as a roster, and they're going to struggle, and you're going to see that. I mean, they're not going to be able to stop Ole Miss. They're going to be discombobulated offensively. Malik Cunningham is a good player, but I just think that if you're only relying on him, it's not a good recipe. And even if Ole Miss's defense is mediocre on Monday night, it's still they're still going to hold Louisville to 21 and under points, I think. And I think it's going to be, again, it's going to be a statement game for Ole Miss.
And this is a Louisville offense without Javian Hawkins, without Tutu Atwell, without Fitzgerald, who went to the Titans. I mean,
who got cut by the Titans,
but that's still 3 pretty good players that they do not have.
He's on P squad, but yeah, I mean, it's like I said, Louisville is replacing as much firepower as Florida, relatively speaking. Like they lost a lot of people getting drafted to the NFL, albeit not first rounders. A lot of them are probably P squatters, but again, you're losing a lot of quote NFL guys that were good enough to get looks in the NFL. When you're Louisville, makes for a good roster. When you lose all of that, you don't have much coming behind it, or you don't know what you have. Maybe they surprise. I don't know, but I just think this is a terrible matchup for Louisville to start the season.
Yeah, and they would have been pretty good. I think they won 4 games last year, but the problem that they had was Malik Cunningham got a little bit of the turnover bug. 9 fumbles, several interceptions that kind of played their way out of games that they would have otherwise been in. So that's one thing you need to look for in that game is ball security. Yeah, ball security from Louisville. If they're secure with the ball, then it's going to be a little bit tougher matchup for Ole Miss. If Louisville turns the ball over 2 or 3 times, it's going to be a situation where Ole Miss runs away and wins that game by 30 or 40 points.
Yep. All right. Let's look at our SEC Pac-12 matchup. LSU travels to the West Coast to take on the Bruins of UCLA, the Bruins of Westwood. Chip Kelly's offense brings back a lot of experience. They're expected to win the Pac-12 South. They looked every bit of that last week against Hawaii, albeit it's against Hawaii, but they still look sharp nonetheless. LSU, they've got a little bit of adversity to overcome. They've been displaced due to Hurricane Ida. They've been in Houston all week practicing and getting ready. Does that deter them? I don't know if it does or not, but it's certainly not. It's certainly anything out of your normal routine. You just never know with that kind of thing. And LSU was kind of in a weird place anyway, even if everything was normal. But I do love Max Johnson. I do love that quarterback position there at LSU. I do think they have some pieces. I do think they have some weapons. But honestly, I think Chip Kelly's got his offense rolling out there. It's a West Coast game, and LSU is the 3-point favorite. I'm not sure how. I guess it's just based on name recognition at this point.
Reputation.
But UCLA is rolling right now, and when you look up what a Chip Kelly offense should look like, it's what UCLA looks like right now, and that's, again, it's a bad matchup for LSU. This is not a good game for them to start out with.
Yeah, UCLA looked fantastic. They could have scored 90 points in Hawaii, took their foot off the gas at halftime, saved some gas in the tank for LSU. But the one thing that I think people that from LSU should be happy about, and one thing they should be looking for, is with Derek Stingley and Eli Ricks, that'll allow you to stack the box. Mm-hmm. If you can do that, you can affect UCLA's running game. If you don't affect UCLA's running game, you're in a lot of trouble.
It's a lot of misdirection, a lot of option, Jeb.
Yeah, I think LSU last year was one of the most up and down teams in the SEC. And, one week they look great, the next week terrible, which I attribute a lot of that. And, again, not an insider, don't know much about it, but I would attribute all of that to coaching. And like you said, Chip Kelly is doing what he wants to do there at UCLA. I'm not fully sold on LSU staff, so at least not since they lost their offensive coordinator after Joe Burrow left. So I do think UCLA has a good chance in this game. LSU, though, I think they're favored because of athletes. They recruit the best in the nation. They have great depth, great positions. And just if they pull it together, they could easily win. But that's going to kind of be on their coaches there, I think.
Jake, one thing to remember about that UCLA game, he only threw for 120 yards because he only had to throw for 120 yards, and they completely took their foot off the gas in that game. The game against LSU is going to be a completely different game plan, and they're going to do different things. That was a vanilla game plan. That was a lot of outside and inside zone and duo and all that stuff going on that they could run that was very simple. It was day one install stuff against Hawaii.
Yeah, it was like they treated it like NFL treats preseason, where they just run their base stuff. They don't have any wrinkles or anything. They just want to see their guys play and execute, and that's what UCLA did. So you're going to see a much different. Steve, you're exactly right on that. You're going to see a much different group there, especially Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the country. I don't know that he's an NFL guy necessarily, but he might be. I don't know. But as far as this game goes, and as far as UCLA goes, they're going to be a fun team to watch out there, out in the West Coast. Not turn this into Pac-12 After Dark, which is an actual thing. But so let's shift gears again. We'll make our selections on this game and tell you how we think this game is going to go overall when we do our pick segment. So Atlanta, let's move on to the Mercedes-Benz, and at 3:30 Eastern time from the Benz in Atlanta, Miami takes on Bama. Bama is 19.5-point favorites. I don't know about that spread. I think Miami's pretty good, but also, like, this game could either be a Miami win. I think this game's either going to be a Miami win or Miami's going to get blown out. I don't think it's going to be a tight loss for Miami. I think they're either going to win or they're going to get blown the hell out. And that's how I see this.
Yeah, I'm going the other way on this one. I think it's one of those games where Alabama finds itself tied at halftime and pulls away through depth and their numerous 4 and 5 stars on defense. Not enough to cover because that's a big number, but enough to win fairly comfortably.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those where that defense can just – defense is so disruptive, man. I mean, you just go down that list and – I mean, when Henry To'oTo'o is your, like, 5th best defender, that's scary.
The one thing I come back to is Rhett Lashley is the offensive coordinator, and Alabama has struggled with mobile quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, that is true.
That is the one thing that keeps me from just saying Alabama's going to walk. Like Jake Thomas predicting a 42-10 win. I believe that. I can see that happening. We've all seen that movie. But the one thing that gives me pause is the fact that they're playing a team where two of their weaknesses and two of what they know are sitting on the other side.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, but Alabama's linebackers are scary good this year.
Oh, they're always scary good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
every single year. But I mean, to play devil's advocate, I could also see this kind of with De'Aaron King leading that offense, and Rhett Lashley has become as good of a play caller as I've seen since he got out from under Gus Malzahn, and you're starting to see kind of more. That was more of an anomaly on Gus Malzahn's part, but I think that you could also see this go into a shootout. That's another scenario. Like, does this turn into the Ole Miss Alabama game from last year, where it was, the first
Just
one to
up
60
and
wins?
Yeah, just up and down the field. I don't know. It's going to be fun to watch. It definitely is going to be fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. And I do want to say Jake is right, at least as far as last year I learned. Don't bet against Alabama.
Yeah, they haven't. He just said they haven't lost an opening game since 2001. That's pre 9/11.
Yeah, if they don't cover the spread, it's because they lost a game.
Yeah, I was a senior in high school the last time Alabama lost a season opener.
I don't want to play this game, Corey.
You were you invented high school, right?
Yeah, I was married already.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd have married for like 9 months to Becky at that point. Of course,
wow.
we've been going at it for about 20 years at this point.
Yeah, I'm sitting on year 8 with Laura, but but back to Bama, like, and I'll let Jake chime in on the chat as well. But I mean, to me, I just, I think Bama's going to roll because that's just what Bama does. But I mean, do you really trust Bill O'Brien? Like, is it really? No. Like, can you really trust him? Is he really going to be that good? I mean, Sark was great. Kiffin was great for Alabama. Those were two great offensive coordinators.
And to be fair, Mike Locksley was great, and he wasn't great before.
Right, and he isn't great now either. But
yeah,
he's actually plumb terrible at Maryland. But I have a hard time buying into Bill O'Brien in any form of leadership whatsoever.
Anybody that would trade DeAndre Hopkins for a third-string running back, I mean, I'm sorry, Jake. I know you think that, but just knowing that Bill O'Brien's on the other side, and I know it's Nick Saban's team, and he's going to do Nick Saban stuff, but I just feel like Bill O'Brien's going to be a brain suck when it comes to that program.
I agree with you, and it's just, man, he does. He does, but Billingsley's got to get his head out of his rear. That's for sure.
It's not a democracy.
It's not a democracy. It's just Bill O'Brien to me. You watch any games that he calls. I mean, of course he was. I mean, you can look at Penn State and say, okay, he got them out of some doldrums, but I mean, was it really that great for like 2 seasons? He had Christian Hackenberg, got him drafted, but. When you look at them with the Patriots, it was all Tom Brady. We know that because they've had coordinators and the same results. You look at him with the Texans. You just watch his offense. Saban, I don't think Saban trusts him as far as he can throw him. Honestly, I think it's a very tense situation because O'Brien's very combustible, very volatile, and so Saban. It's going to be an interesting dynamic as soon as things go south a little bit for Alabama offensively. I'll be watching. I bet all cameras are going to be pointing at that sideline when that happens.
Yeah,
but I mean,
with a sophomore quarterback or a freshman or whatever,
redshirt freshman, I think. But yeah, I mean, obviously, Jay. Yeah, we trust Nick Saban because he's given us 100 million reasons to trust him on staff hires. I mean, he took a guy out of rehab and turned him into the head coach of the University of Texas. So, I mean, I don't doubt Nick Saban. But even Nick Saban can't fix everybody, right? Can't fix everybody. And Bill O'Brien's a stubborn dude. He's coming off of being a general manager and head coach of an NFL franchise. and he walks into being offensive coordinator at Alabama.
Yeah, honestly, Jake, talking about Lane Kiffin getting it back on track, I think hubris is a little bit of this coaching rehab analyst thing that they're going on. I think hubris is a part of this, and he's taking on more and more difficult projects, and Bill O'Brien is a difficult project that is used to running his own. He was an NFL head coach, and now he's an offensive coordinator at Bama. There's a potential for that to be combustible.
Lane just needed to get knocked down a few pegs. That's
sure.
all that. That's all that he needed. He just needed to get knocked down a few pegs, and Saban made sure of that. Lane was good. Lane's always been good. He's just his ego. His ego has not been his amigo.
Oh my gosh! No, you didn't.
I did. It's the Sam Adams talking.
Yeah,
Bill O'Brien, man, he's got my head all screwed up.
We'll hit that pick. Well, they're not the 32nd NFL team; they'd be the 33rd. But
if he
yes,
doesn't trust the process, he'll be gone. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah,
and I think he will be.
Yeah, I don't listen to what we're saying as anything negative towards Alabama. We think Alabama is going to go at a minimum 11-1 this year.
Yeah.
With a potential for 12-0.
They're just going to have to do it.
Yeah, it's just going to be a challenge, and there's questions for the first time that need to be answered. That's all it is. They still have 4 and 5 stars everywhere. By far the best team and most talented team in the conference.
Yeah, I mean that goes without saying. So Jake, I'm not being a Bama detractor. I'm really just being a Bill O'Brien detractor. They have so much talent that I don't think Bill O'Brien could screw it up that bad, but he can get them into trouble. I think they lose to A&M.
A&M.
Yeah, A&M's a scary game because the Ole Miss game, they're going to have to put a lot into that game. That game scares Alabama, and then A&M could get them.
I think they lose to either Ole Miss or A&M. One of those two. One of those two. I think that, Haynes King he's a dude now. All right, so let's get into our game of the week. Georgia and Clemson coming live from Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. Georgia comes in as 3-point underdogs to the Clemson Tigers. Looking at the quarterback situation, that's the main storyline of this game. Obviously, JT Daniels versus DJ Ungiolele. I think I got that right. I'm not sure.
I was wondering how you said that. I was waiting to hear it.
Don't trust me on name pronunciation. Steve will tell you.
I'm gonna say ukulele. That's what I call it.
I've been calling them ukulele.
Like that.
Ukulele.
We'll just do ukulele. All right.
Ukulele, like the musical instrument, right? So, it's gonna. All kidding aside, this is like you hear game of the century all the time. That's like just one of the most not misused, but most overused, overhyped adjective or adverb or whatever grammar thing you want to throw in there. But this game is going to come down. It's going to be a quarterback battle, man. And I'm excited for it. I think Big Cinco is a great quarterback for Clemson. I think people are underselling him a little bit. And, JT Daniels, he's one of those that, honestly, I love him to death. I think some people may be overselling him a little bit, overselling his abilities. He's a type of person that can take advantage and do really well when there's pieces around him. But when he is forced to carry a team like he had that one year at USC, he crumbled.
But he was a freshman.
He's a freshman.
Yeah, and not only that, he was a freshman that should have been in high school because before Quinn Ewers reclassified to go to Ohio State a year early, the same thing happened with JT Daniels. And he instantly became the number 1 player in the class and went to USC at like 17 years old, and he just tore his ACL and won the job and then tore his ACL.
Yeah, and that was and lost and then ended up losing out to Keaton Slovis. But JT is one of those guys that again, he has pieces around him, and I think when you look at this matchup, the quarterback matchup, I think Big Cinco is obviously the better quarterback of these two. But then you look at the pieces that are around each quarterback, and of course Justin Ross is the best receiver out of both offenses. But the collection of talent at the wide receiver position, the aggregate of receiving options at Georgia, I think, outweighs what Clemson has. And I think Georgia's backfield is far superior to Clemson's backfield. And I think that's kind of where your advantages lie for Georgia in my mind, is that they have so many different options and so many guys that can do different things and do different things well. Is also what's going to be dangerous. And you're going to see some surprise guys show up. Like Jermaine Burton's not really a surprise, but I think, when you look at Arian Smith, he's a John Leggett special, man. He's a deep threat. Track star. Finished second to Matthew Bowling. Matthew Bowling is a record-setting track star at Georgia. Finished second to him in the 100-meter at 10.3. Just a complete burner. Was beat up last year. That's why I didn't see him much. But when he was healthy, he was a legitimate deep threat. Then you have Kyrus Jackson, who plays in the slot. He's somebody that can find space in the middle and just really kind of wreak havoc. You have Marcus Rosemary Jack Saint, who was starting to come on until the Florida game, and then snapped his leg in two. Was a gruesome injury. But when you look at the tight end position, you had Darnell Washington. He's on crutches right now. He just had surgery. He's going to be out for a little while, so he won't be playing in this game. John Fitzpatrick will be, which is a huge addition for Georgia. And then Brock Bowers, the four-star freshman out of Napa, California, comes in. He's going to get some early time. And then this running back core, I think James Cook is your ultimate utility player. He can do just about anything you ask him to do. He's going to be a threat as well. So I think JT is going to have more weapons at his disposal than Clemson does. And I think that's where offensively this is going to be a high-scoring game. Let's just put it that way. Both secondaries kind of struggle. It's going to be a high-scoring game, but let's see. The 300 that's Jordan Davis is who you're talking about. That's Jordan Davis. He's an All-American. He wears number 99. He is a mountain. He's going to be a cog inside that. The defensive lines are really what excite me as well with this game. Jordan Davis, and Brian Breezy, and then you have Miles Murphy and Adam Anderson rushing the passer. So that I think that's going to be a key factor. Who can disrupt the passer more in this game. So we did a Believe in Georgia Dogs last night, Israel and I. So we talked about this. We had Dane Young from UGAsports.com. We talked about this matchup ad nauseum and all the different possibilities. But it's going to be one of those. It's going to be one up front, and the offensive lines that give their quarterback time are going to be the ones that are obviously going to be the team that's going to have the advantage.
If you're talking about giving the quarterback time, Clemson's playing two centers in this game, and I just don't understand how you go through a whole fall camp, and that's probably the most important position on the field. There's a lot of protections that have to be called out. There's a lot of snap.
That's your second quarterback.
Yeah, so that's something to look at, especially with the defense like that Georgia defense on the other side.
Mm-hmm. And Georgia's defense, Jeb, is multiple, where they can get different looks, and they have pieces where they can bring pressure from just about anywhere. I mean, they can throw Adam Anderson at the star position in rundowns and blitz him off the wide edge. I mean, you got Nakobe Dean coming in from the inside. You got all kind of twists and stunts and blitz packages that you can have. The defensive backfield is going to be super aggressive, super physical. They're going to play probably a lot of man coverage behind that, and Georgia's just going to they're going to get aggressive and just straight come after you now. And with the pieces that they have, they can finally do that.
No, I agree. I think being the first game of the season helps Georgia a lot too, because Clemson, I know their defense didn't really live up to the billing last year at all, but I think this year again people think they're going to be good. But Georgia's defense we already know is good, and it's going to come in and have the experience on their side of already being, working together and being great. And same thing with quarterbacks. I think Georgia's quarterback, JT Daniels, is just ready at this point, I think, and like you said, has all those weapons ready to go. Whereas Clemson, rolling with a new quarterback, even their wide receiver you were talking about, Ross, is coming back, missed all last season with a pretty bad injury from what I remember. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know how ready he's going to be for the first game of the season. So I think you're right. I think being the first game of the season, Georgia just has the advantage with experience and being ready to play. And I think they cover this one. Take care of it. Take care of business.
Hey, is Skalski going to play the first half of this game? Was that targeting in the Ohio State game in the playoff? Does that carry over?
No, it doesn't, because it happened in the first half and he missed the second half. Of the
Okay,
game, so
okay.
He's good. He will be full go.
Okay. Yeah. Mentally gone.
Yeah, he'll get a targeting call at some point. I mean, that's just kind of what he does.
I'm really looking forward to that game, but let's do picks. Let's get it going.
But before we do picks, I want to mention I'm excited. The Beast of, our podcast and the Beast of the East portion of this podcast, and they're partnering with playactionpools.com this season to bring some interactive fun to the sport that we love the most. You'll be able to get in on the action with our playactionpools.com football pick'em challenge, which is open to everyone. Here's how it works. Sign up for our contest, Believe Football Pick'em, at playactionpools.com, and then get your picks each week. We're going to select the 10 highest profile games of the week between the NFL and college football. Whoever gets the most picks correct each week will win a pair of electric sunglasses and a pair of DC shoes. So there's some prizes at hand. So again, go to playactionpools.com, sign up for the contest, Believe, that's BLEAV, football pick'em. And pick'em is apostrophe EM. And if you plan on hosting your own football contest, you can go to playactionpools.com today. They've got Survivor Pick'em as well as cool sportsbook style concept called Build Your Bankroll. Don't know much about that. I'm interested in exploring that. Like I said, I don't know what that means, but playactionpools.com, they're your new home for your office sports pool. So if you want to get that Pick'em League, go to playactionpools.com. It's very, very easy. I actually signed up today, so it's a lot of fun. I made my picks. Obviously, there's no picks for this week because they want to blend NFL games in there, so it actually starts next week is the first round. But yeah, so let's get into our picks, guys. We're gonna start Louisiana Monroe at Kentucky. Kentucky coming in, or ULM coming into the grocery bag as 31-point underdogs. Will Levis has been named QB1 at Kentucky. They've discovered the forward pass. Steve, does that make them 31 points better than ULM?
I think this is going to be a tricky game for Kentucky. Rich Rodriguez and Terry Bowden, they're going to run the ball, which means they're going to run the clock, which means that you don't really have time, which the strength of this Kentucky team is still the running back field. They do have Wandale Davis at wide receiver, and I think Josh Ali is back as well. So those guys are threats, but I don't know, like ULM, if they score 21 points, and Rich Rod is good at scheming up teams with 21 points, you have to put a 50 burger up to cover. So I'm taking ULM.
Jeb?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just a spread. I don't think Kentucky's really going to be able to hit 31 points better than ULM, just because they are more of a traditional running team. I know that they're going to be better on offense this year, and I really like Mark Stoops and what he's doing there. But no, I'm taking ULM to at least cover that spread.
Jake is going with ULM as well. I know he's in the chat, but he's going with ULM as well. I'm going to be the oddball here. I'm picking Kentucky, dude. They're going to air it out. They're going to make a statement here with Will Levis as QB1. I think they're going to roll. I think they're going to overwhelm them. I think you're going to see a much different Kentucky team than you're used to seeing. So give me the Wildcats.
All right.
Our next game from Fayetteville, Arkansas, an old Southwest Conference rivalry, maybe.
All about the SWC. All about it. Bring it.
Bring it on. Right? They're bringing it back. See, they're setting it up, Steve. Rice. Arkansas welcomes Rice. Rice comes in as 19.5-point dogs in this game. Arkansas plays a physical brand of football. Rice, they're pretty bad. So, Steve, how do you see this one play out?
I think Arkansas on the tempo and KJ Jefferson, Kendall Briles is really good with an athletic quarterback. KJ Jefferson will fit that niche, and they will be able to go quickly and quickly and quickly. And Rice is just hot garbage. Let's just be real about that. And I think they cover the line pretty easily. So Arkansas on that one.
Jeb.
Yeah, I'm not looking at Arkansas as having a real big season, but I think they will cover this spread against Rice. So I'm definitely going with them as well in this game.
Well, Jake and I are going to make it a clean sweep for the Razorbacks. I just think pace, KJ Jefferson, athletic quarterback. He's better than Felipe Franks, which Felipe Franks made the 53-man roster for the Atlanta Falcons. So he's not as bad as we thought he was. Maybe Dan Mullen screwed him up. But I like Arkansas here. I think that Arkansas is going to play a little bit faster this year. I think they're going to, they kind of made their identity as a physical football team last year. I think they're going to now start to add a little bit of quickness and a little bit of tempo to that now, and you're going to see a slightly different Arkansas offense here. I think they cover. All right, let's go down to what would be game of the week if Georgia wasn't playing Clemson. Alabama taking on Miami. Alabama, of course, as we mentioned earlier, 19.5-point favorites. They are the, quote, visiting team in their home away from home in the Benz. Steve.
This is one of those weird games because of all those questions. I'm anticipating a nervy start for Alabama. It's going to be one of those games. It's going to be 14-10 at halftime, and it's going to end up being 27-10 or 34-17. Either way, they're not quite going to get to the Alabama number, that 19.5 number, and they're not going to cover. So I'm going to take Miami in that game.
Jeb.
I'm going to be honest. This is purely just as a fan and not being a fan of Alabama. I've not had any luck in the past picking against Alabama, and I've said that earlier on that you usually can just pick them to cover. They're probably going to cover. They probably will in this game too, but I like Miami. I always have. I kind of want to see them step up and have a good season. I think Alabama wins the game, but I'm taking Miami to cover as more of a hope and a prayer than any actual knowledge or truth.
All right. Jake, I got your pick, and I got your back here. You and I are picking Bama. I think it's going to be one of those games. Yeah, it'll be nervy at the start. It'll be tight for a little while, but I think this 4- and 5-star depth eventually is going to have to take over at some point, and I think they pull away and win a 3-touchdown game. I think there's going to be a couple of key turnovers that Bama's going to force. They're going to score one on defense. They may score one in special teams. It's going to be kind of one of those games where you're trying to figure out how they got to 45, and you're not really sure, but it's going to be like a 45-21 type game where it's like 21 all at halftime or something like that, and Bama just pulls away in the second half. That's kind of how I think this one's going to play out. And I'm sure Jake already gave his score 45-10, so we know where he stands on that. So next game is a very interesting contest, a spread that I don't know. They travel to Starkville to play Mississippi State. Mississippi State comes in as 23-point favorites in this game. It's a home game, home of the Cowbell. Steve, how do you see this one playing out?
I think it's going to be one of those situations where Mississippi State can't score enough to cover this line because Louisiana Tech and that offense is going to score 17 to 21 points, which means that Mississippi State has to hit 45 to cover that line. And, Mississippi State might win the game, but I do expect Louisiana Tech to score, so I'm going to take Louisiana Tech in this game.
Jeb?
I don't know. Mike Leach came out pretty hot last year, and I know it kind of fizzled away pretty fast. And I know he's had a lot of growing pains in the SEC, but I like what he's doing. I think it's going to be a little bit better year for him. Maybe not a great year, but a little bit better. And I think he can cover this spread, so I'm going to go with Mississippi State.
Jake's picking Louisiana Tech, and I agree with him. I think Louisiana Tech. I think we're discounting how good Louisiana Tech actually is. They're a team that is. They can score. They can play some defense. They can make life tough on you. Skip Holtz has done a tremendous job down there, and I think it's going to be. Obviously, they're not. Obviously, I don't think they're going to win, but I do think this is going to be one of those like 34-17 type games where Louisiana Tech can put some points on the board. It might be a slightly nervy first quarter. I think Mississippi State's going to be comfortable the whole way, but I don't think they're going to be 23 points comfortable.
Horrible,
give me the
opening
points.
game.
Yeah,
Horrible opening game.
yeah. Give me the points here. We talked about this one. Missouri, 14-point favorites hosting Central Michigan. Steve, I think this is going to be a clean sweep, but go ahead and tell me.
Yeah, this is one of those lines that's low enough to where I feel comfortable with Missouri and everything that's going on. I just think they're over 14 points better than Central Michigan.
Yeah, I have to agree. Missouri's going to be decent this year. Central Michigan, I'm not very sold on, so I think they can cover 14 points.
All right, and I'll make it a clean sweep as well with Jake. We're all picking Mizzou. And for obvious reasons, I think Missouri's going to win by 3 touchdowns. This is going to be one of those where Missouri's going to overwhelm them on offense. All right, Akron traveling to the Plains to take on Auburn. Auburn 36.5-point favorites there. Steve, is Auburn and Tank Bigsby with the new Brian Harsin offense, are they 37 points better than Akron?
I don't know if they're 37 points better than anybody. If Akron scores 2 touchdowns, you need over 50 points to cover. I mean, that's just absolutely absurd. In this era that every offense can soar some semblance of points. So I'm taking Akron in this game because I just think they're going to score twice. There's going to be a mistake because Derek Mason is a zone defense type guy. They replaced Kevin Steele, who was a ultimate man guy, so it's a different system on that defensive side of the ball. And I think there's going to be hiccups. There's going to be a couple of big plays. And, Akron gets out and scores 2 touchdowns, and Auburn wins 45-14, but that's not enough to cover.
Jeb.
Well, that's a valid point. Akron is not a very good school, but 37 points is a huge spread. So I don't know. I'm still going with Auburn just because I think the only way they don't really cover is, like you said, if Akron were to step. Or no, I think the only way they don't cover, is if Auburn actually stumbles. And I think they'll come out this game and play really well. We'll see if they can keep that momentum up down the stretch. But I'm going to go with Auburn in this one.
All right. Obviously, Jake would lose his Roll Tide card if he picked Auburn. So he's going with Akron in the points. I'm going to take Auburn here. I think Akron's going to have a really hard time scoring. This Auburn defense has a lot of talent coming back and looking at them. They have Tank Bigsby. They have a couple pieces at wide receiver. They have Bo Nix still, who, depending on the day, could be really good or really bad. But I think having TJ Finley behind him, pushing him, is going to be something that's going to be good. They're going to use the tight ends. They've got a little bit more of an organized system now. So I think they can score 40. I think Akron's going to have a hard time scoring 3 points against this Auburn defense. So give me War Eagle on that. There is no line on Eastern Illinois and South Carolina. I just want to take this chance to really make fun of South Carolina because they had to pull one of their GAs out of a GA slot and start him at quarterback. That's how bad their quarterback situation is right now.
Much like JT Daniels last year, me being from the beginning on that train, I am going to be on the Colton Gauthier train right now because that one, even though he's a true freshman, it's the beginning of the year, he should be starting this game.
Yeah, I mean, South Carolina's not going to contend for anything, so why not start him? Like Zeb Nolan, he's had his time. Give the freshman a chance, right? What do you have to lose? All right, Georgia +3, taking on Clemson at a neutral site in Charlotte. Steve, how do you see this one playing out?
Like the dogs, JT Daniels, you've talked me into the fact that Kirby's going to take his thumbs off the offense, and I'm looking forward to seeing Georgia go out and run. It's only, Georgia +3. I'm happy with that number. I think Georgia wins straight up.
All right, Jeb.
I agree. I think Georgia's just going to be more ready for this game at this point in the season. I think they take it. It'll be close. It'll be a good game, but I think Georgia wins.
Jake is taking Georgia, and I'll make it a clean sweep. Georgia wins this game up front. I think they win ultimately with the running game, but it's going to be a lot more dynamic of a look with this offense. Even though Georgia's going to stick with their core of running the ball, it's going to look more like a Lane Kiffin running system where Lane Kiffin is actually a run-heavy team. It just doesn't appear that way because they're so electric in a lot of things that they do. But
60% run.
I still think James Cook, Zamir White, Kenny McIntosh, and Kendall Milton carry the load. I think Zamir White's going to close this one out. I like Georgia. I like Georgia +3. I like Georgia actually to straight up win. All right, we go down to Gainesville. FAU travels up I-4 or actually up I-75 to Gainesville to take on the Gators. They're 23.5-point underdogs, not the Gators, but Florida Atlantic. Emory Jones' first game as unequivocal starter. Steve, what do you think?
It's I-95, actually. It's I-95 to I-4. I-75 goes down to, like, Naples.
Well, it makes a turn. So
it goes to Miami. But it goes to Fort
could,
Lauderdale. The easiest way to get there would be 95.
You could J it up there, right?
Yeah. Oh, there's a way you can make it work. But as the resident Florida man, I just felt the need to let you know what was going on. I like Florida in this game. Yeah, I'm that guy. I like Florida in this game. I like what N'Kosi Perry, Willie Taggart, and everything. They're going to be a decent team, but that line is 23.5. I do think they win that game by more than 4 touchdowns, and basically covers or take Florida in that game.
Jeb,
I was a little torn on this one because I don't know. I think FAU could surprise and at least keep it a little closer, but I'm still going with Florida because the odds are just greater that Florida takes control of this game and wins it pretty big in the end.
Yeah, I'm going with Florida because FAU is not ready to cover this. I'm not a big believer in Willie Taggart. After that whole debacle at Florida State, I'm not real sure why he's there. N'Kosi Perry's a good quarterback. It might be one of those first few series you're like, oh, I got to pay attention to this game now. But in reality, it's going to be a 4 touchdown win for Florida just because of recruiting, strength and conditioning, superior talent. I think that's going to win out. I don't think you're really going to get an answer on Emory Jones in this game. I just think you're going to see a Florida team that's going to roll. Mm-hmm. So, and I think Jake would agree. Let's travel to College Station. Kent State comes in. This is Mac. Is this the Mac SEC Challenge?
Yeah, seriously, this is absolutely ridiculous. Actually, though, we're talking about expansion and the power of the SEC has built up. How many of these MAC SEC games have we seen over the last couple of years? That's kind of interesting to think about. I like Texas A&M in this game. This is going to be a 49-7 type game. Kent State's a good club. They run a little bit of that Baylor system, kind of an alternative Baylor system. They're trying to look at Baylor film and incorporate the system instead of actually running it. But they're kind of explosive. I think they get through on one little piece of offense, get the touchdown. But Isaiah Spiller and the boys are just going to be too much. It's going to be a nice day for Haynes King, I think, as well.
Yeah, Kent State can be fun to watch, but A&M's defense is going to shut them down. I think Texas A&M definitely covers in this game.
Yeah, Kent State's going to be a fun team and a very viable team in the MAC. But when it comes down to this matchup, Texas A&M's going to roll. Texas A&M rolls against their MAC opponents. That's what they do. And I think they played each other a few years ago. I think in Jimbo's first season, I think Kent State was the first team that A&M played, and they rolled it. So this is going to be no different. Haynes King we're going to see what he's got. He's going to be good. We're not just like the Florida game. He's going to have a great game statistically, and everybody's going to make Haynes King. But we're not really going to get a true answer on this game. It's just going to be a good blowout there for A&M. So there is no line on ETSU and Vandy. Obviously, we're all picking Vandy, so we'll breeze right through that game. The Kent Seals fan club will establish their first view of a Clark Lee football team. I'm just looking for Vanderbilt to just come out and play on the same page and not play as pitifully as they did last season.
Just play confident. Just look good. You're playing against a 1AA team or FCS team. Let it happen.
Let it happen. Jeb, any thoughts on that, or do you just want to move on?
No. I think we could just move on. I think we're all kind of expecting the same thing or hoping for the same thing out of Vanderbilt. So.
And
We'll just see
Jake,
what.
I just saw your comment. I've been looking at the spreadsheet. Yes, we talking about some interstates, man.
You talking about interstates?
Not a highway.
Not a
Not
highway.
a highway.
Interstates.
We talk about interstate, man. The interstate. You know, I'm sitting here. I'm supposed to be a 5-star driver. I'm in good hands with Allstate. But we up here, we really talking about an interstate.
Interstate.
Interstate,
95,
man.
75. What about Interstate 85?
85. You can't discount.
Nobody's talking about 85.
Nobody. We sitting here. We talk about interstates, man. Interstates. No. So our next game. This is like. I'll say this again. I said it earlier in the show. I love this matchup just because it's a fun matchup. You don't see it very often. It's a SEC West Coast game, Pac-12 after dark, and it's LSU is 3-point favorites somehow, traveling as 3-point favorites. I don't know if the odds makers have really watched UCLA, but
Looks like Corey went away there for a second.
Yeah, I think we lost him.
Yeah, but we'll just go on to UCLA in this game. Maybe he'll come back shortly. What I'm looking for is what the UCLA offense will look like with the LSU defense. I think there's a potential for LSU to stack the box and just put Derek Stingley and Eli Ricks on the outside. But if that doesn't work, if they get some good plays in the pass game, there could be some problems. Now, offensively, there's some weapons on the outside that LSU can hit. There's no running back real threat. There's no tight end threat. Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Thaddeus Moss is what made 2019 LSU. They're trying to recreate that. And Corey, his computer crashed, so we'll continue on this without him. I'm thinking UCLA based on all the stuff with the Hurricane, all the stuff with the running game, and I think DTR makes a couple of plays to cover that line. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, LSU does have a lot to overcome, especially with the Hurricane and everything. It's unfortunate, but I don't know. With the spread being so close, it's pretty much just who we think who's gonna win. And I feel like LSU is going to end up winning this game in the end. I agree, though, UCLA is a lot better than I think a lot of people are giving them credit for. Chip Kelly is doing a great job there. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not sold on LSU's coaching staff, but they also have the better athletes, I think. And they do have a good system. I think in the end they win this game.
Jake went with LSU, as you can see over in the line, and Corey went with UCLA. Now, the last game of the week, Ole Miss versus Louisville, -10. Actually, betonline.ag that we put up here has it at -11, but we'll go with -10 for now. I think it's one of those games where Louisville has turned the ball over. They had problems with it last year. If they turn the ball over this time, Ole Miss just runs away with it. But I think Ole Miss is at least 2 touchdowns better than them. Either way it goes.
Yeah, I don't understand why the spread is so close on this one. I agree with you. I think Ole Miss is going to win this fairly easily and probably pretty early. I don't think this is one where they're close for a long time and then they pull away in the end. I feel like Ole Miss is going to dominate this game.
Yeah, and Jake's going with Louisville. Why are you going with Louisville, Jake? Why are you doing that, man? Why are you doing that to me, bud? No, it should be a good game, and that should end up the 6 days of consecutive football tonight. UAB versus Jacksonville State as the start. What's the update on the score on that, Jack? Let's see. He's a little bit behind us, but that's what we're doing picks wise. We'll see if he'll put the score up, and then we'll move on about our day. We're gonna stop the show shortly after that. I'm looking at the chat box to see if he puts that in there. But maybe UAB ran away with it. 31-0. Thank you very much. Yeah, I assumed UAB. But we're going to stop it right there. Corey's computer crashed. He picked Ole Miss. Jake picked Louisville. And we also have Craig, Kevin, Alex, and Hank that are going to be participating in the pick as the season moves on. But I do want to thank you for tuning in. It was a little bit of a longer show tonight. And because of that, we had a lot of stuff to get to and everything's going on. So thank you very much. And until, let's see, Saturday morning, Biscuits and SEC's SEC weekend preview. Monday, the game preview for the Louisville game if you're an Ole Miss fan. So we have a lot of stuff on the channel to help you out. But for Jeb and Corey, I'm Steve. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Have a great night.